This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming the beautiful, the talented Paige Price. Paige played Tracy in the classic Tom Cruise football high school drama, All the Right Moves, which celebrates its 40th anniversary this year. And she was also in a couple of horror classics as well. Silent Madness, she'll be my second guest from that. The New Kids, she'll be my second guest from that as well. She got to do some after-school specials for CBS and ABC. And she was in the hockey TV sci-fi movie Generation. She got to be the first victim in Jerry Cohen's Video Violence. And back in the late 90s, she got to do a couple runs of Saturday Night Fever on Broadway with the Bee Gees. Wow, I got to ask about that. And she's also been artistic director at a bunch of prestigious theater companies. And it's going to be a great conversation today. I can't wait. This is the first of 3 shows I've got leading up to Thanksgiving, and I am so grateful. I'm so grateful for my listeners. I'm so grateful for all the people that listen, and I just can't thank all of you enough. You're all very special to me. Also, rest in peace to legendary Joss Ackland, Chuck D. Nomalos in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Hans in The Mighty Ducks, and many, many other great films. A talented guy and a sad loss to film. Also, rest in peace, Rosalind Carter, wife of former President Jimmy Carter. It's sad to lose the loved one just a few days before Thanksgiving. My heart goes out to the Carter family. Rest in peace. So yeah, here is my interview with Paige Price. Hey Paige, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you so much. How are you?
I am just fantastic. This is such a great honor. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Of course. Of course.
So, going back in time, I was reading that you began dancing at the age of 4. Was your mom a dancer?
She was not, actually. She wasn't allowed to do it. My grandpa was very strict. And so she didn't get to do it, so I did.
Oh, she just lived vicariously through you then?
Yeah, although I don't think she expected me to take it as far as I ultimately did. She wanted me to be a lawyer, so it didn't end up working out for her.
Yeah. Then you tried out for Gypsy when you were 11. Is that when you started gravitating toward acting?
Yeah, that was the first one I did, although, I auditioned for the show, but I didn't really understand how it worked. I had auditioned with a combination from my recital dance, and I thought I would actually get to do the recital dance in the play. I didn't understand how it worked. Yeah, but that was my first exposure to doing a part in a play. It was amazing.
And then from there was no stopping you. You started doing school plays and community theater and all of that?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Did you go to school with any actors we would know?
Oh, God, no. I went to school. Actually, we didn't even have school plays. We did, I think they did maybe one Agatha Christie when I was there. So I was mostly in dance class and gymnastics. But then I did find my way through, I did Gypsy probably in 7 theaters in New Jersey as I went from Baby June to Dainty June. So I was mostly in the community theater circuit, if you will, until my first pro job when I was a sophomore.
Mm-hmm. Did you study with any of the famous acting teachers in New York?
I went to Terry Schreiber for a while, but no, I didn't. I mostly learned on the job, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I've talked to so many people who have learned on the job. Sometimes learning on the job is better than actually going through the classes,
Yeah, I went to NYU, and every time, I kept getting pulled away to do jobs, and NYU doesn't really like that. But, every time I would come back to school, I would work. So I had a kind of a nice combo platter.
Did you grow up going to Broadway shows?
I did. My dance school used to take big trips in. My first show was Annie, and then Chorus Line and The Wiz. All those shows, we went in big groups.
Yeah, I've talked to numerous women who were in who were in both runs of Annie in the 70s.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it was huge. A Chorus Line was huge too. I can't believe how long that show ran for.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you go see a performance of A Chorus Line?
Oh yeah, yeah. That was, I think, the second show I saw, and it was, not only was it amazing to see dancers on stage, but to see a show about dancers, in a realm that I really didn't know much about. It's all story then, but then to see, to get a sense of the individuals that make up the field was kind of eye-opening. And I think that's when I started really getting serious about going into the field and going to college and just trying to get jobs. I used to sneak out and go to all kinds of auditions that my parents didn't know about, because I just wanted to, that was it. I made up my mind.
Yeah. Are you trained in all types of dancing?
Yes. I did the tap, the jazz, the ballet, the modern, which I didn't really care for. It wasn't for me back in the day. Yeah, I did it all. I did gymnastics, all that stuff.
Nice, nice. So, was All the Right Moves a standard audition for you?
It was. I didn't even really understand what I was doing because I wasn't acting as much then. I was really in the dancing world. And so I went into audition and I just thought, I'm never going to book this job. I don't even know how to do it. And I swear to God, I think I partially got it because in high school, I actually had been a cheerleader.
Yeah.
So I think that actually gave me a leg up, if you will.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I'll tell you, most actresses I've talked to who played cheerleaders never cheerleaded in high school. In fact, they also say that, I can't even walk on my hands or do a handstand.
Yeah. I remember my agent was like, do not tell anybody you were a cheerleader, because, there was a, back in the day, there was a lot of judgment around what that person might be like.
Yeah.
And, I just wanted the best seats in the house. So I loved it. I loved it. Got to do gymnastics and I love sports. So I just got to be in the front row of the audience. Who would want to do that?
Yeah, I played football in high school, but I look like a football player. I'm a big guy. Did they let you keep your uniform?
Oh no. Oh, from the show?
Yeah.
No, they didn't. In fact, I kept. I think I kept pom poms and a T-shirt and a fake football. I do have some memorabilia, but I don't know what memorabilia graveyard they're going to end up in, but I do still have them.
Yeah, I mean, imagine how much that would be now on eBay. I remember hearing that Kelly Maroney's cheerleading uniform in Night of the Comet sold close to like $1 million on eBay years ago.
Holy moly! Wow. Maybe I should have made a bigger case to keep it.
Exactly. What did you think of the script when you got it?
Oh my gosh! I don't even think I got the script when I first, I think I had my scene and that was it.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know who Tom Cruise was. I mean, he had just done Risky Business, but it hadn't been out yet.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't fully famous. I was just thrilled to have a new experience and go away from home to do a job. It was in Johnstown, Pennsylvania that we shot it. And, to me, like staying in a hotel for 4 weeks by myself with a bunch of actors, it just sounded like paradise.
Yeah, when it came out in September 1983, Fox was hoping it was going to be their Flashdance, because just like that movie, it took place in Pennsylvania, and it was about a talented person who had the odds stacked against them. And plus, Tom Cruise had just done Risky Business, and it was a smash that summer. I think maybe, not having a killer soundtrack may have been the reason why the film didn't go through the roof like Flashdance did.
Oh, the soundtrack was not so great. Not so great.
Yeah. It wasn't that good. What was working with him like, though?
He was awesome. I have to say, he was awesome. There were a lot of method actors on that show, which for the uninitiated like me, I didn't really understand that, I remember distinctly being at a welcome party for all, and there was just tons of young people who were playing football players, and I got into a conversation with one of them, and he was just talking about his family and his life, and then about 10 minutes in, I realized, oh, he's like talking about his character, and I took him at face value, So they were sort of doing that, doing the method preparation, and my date, my boyfriend in the show was played by Christopher Penn, who, rest in peace, is Sean Penn's brother, and he was like a bull in a china shop, but he also he only called me Tracy, and that was my character's name, and Tom was sort of the same world, although he was clearly already assuming a position of leadership. He came in after my first day of work and told me about my work on the dailies. He said the dailies were great. I just want you to know, he was very much involved in the process of shooting, and was so generous, and was in the room when I shot my first scene. So he was great. And I remember that we were near, I think it was East Stroudsburg. We were near a college in Johnstown. And one night we all decided to go out. There was about 6 of us. And Tom led the charge with Leon, who was another actor in the show. And we went to the college and just sort of knocked on doors at the dorm. And Tom was like, hey, we're shooting a movie nearby. We're like, where can we hang out? Like, we thought we'd just like make friends. And so he was very social and very, very much a leader at that time.
Oh, that's good. That's good. How about Leah Thompson?
She was great. Super, they were all very serious and very dedicated. It was, I don't think I could have had a better exposure to how professionals work. They all took their work very seriously. I got close with Craig Nelson, that played the coach. He and I actually adopted a cat together at the Holiday Inn, and we both took care of it. So, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, Leah was one of the first celebrities that I ever met at a Comic-Con. Actually, she was the first. Just a sweetheart, total sweetheart. It was one of the best experiences I ever had. I got our photo op by my bed, and I look at it every now and then. Yeah, this is the only movie she's ever been nude in, by the way. She tried to fight it, but then Tom Cruise stepped in and said, "I'll be nude too," and then they did it.
Yeah, I remember they she was very sensitive about it, and who wouldn't? And I remember they were very deliberate about it and took time to make each other comfortable. That was important to both of them. That was also a good lesson.
Yeah. Do you remember if Chris Penn was dating Sherilyn Fenn yet?
He was not.
Oh, okay. That must have been on the next movie, The Wildlife, because they're both in that movie.
I remember he went to do Footloose actually after that, because I have these great Polaroids that he sent me from that shoot. They're kind of amazing with him and Kevin Bacon, of course, and it was sad that he didn't make it.
That's right. I forgot he was in Footloose. That's right.
Yeah.
Deborah Varnado from Fast Forward was in the movie. What was she like?
Oh my God! Deborah, yes, she was awesome. She was similar to me in that we had a little less experience, and there was a lot of testosterone. Let me just say that around that shoot. So she was sort of my calm in the storm. She was really great.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, this was Michael Chapman's first movie as a director, because he had been Scorsese's DP on Taxi Driver, The Last Waltz, Raging Bull, etc. And he later did the notorious disaster, The Clan of the Cave Bear. Was he comfortable at all or confident directing on this movie?
He was great. He seemed like he knew he did what he wanted to do. I think Jan de Bont was his DP.
Oh yeah.
And they worked really well together. Michael and I only had one disagreement because it was over a line that he wanted me to say, and his wife had said it when she was pregnant, and I was like, that just seems dumb, But yeah, he was very good, and he was very collaborative.
Awesome. You're my second guest from Silent Madness. I've
Oh my God.
talked to Catherine Camille, and Katie Bull would have been my third guest, but she canceled on me last year because she didn't like my sense of humor. She went through my social media and saw all these dirty memes I post. But was this a standard audition for you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that shoot, that was wild. Tell me, ask me questions on that one, and then I'll see if we if we cover all the bases.
you and the girls seemed like you all got along great and laughed a lot. I mean, it really comes across on screen. Did you guys get along and have fun?
Yeah, because it was kind of ridiculous. I mean, that was a show I remember. I was supposed to take my top off too, and I was like, no, I mean, if it was a 20th Century Fox Tom Cruise movie, then you talk about it. But this movie, this 3D horror film, I was like, not going to happen. And so the whole conversation, which, was kind of hilarious with the costume department, was like, well, how about a see-through bra? And I was like, how about a see-through bra where you put some panels of pantyhose in it? How about so it's not so see-through, So as you may or may not remember, I actually did have a bra on.
Yes.
And the coda to the story is that Vivica Lindfors was so mad that I had a bra on.
Yeah.
She was like, what's my motivation? How am I supposed to respond? She didn't think it was enough. And I was like, I'm sorry, I am not in charge of your motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I was a young actor. It was scary for me to push back, but she was not having it. And I don't know if you heard that story from anyone else, but that was my biggest takeaway from that shoot.
I can't remember if I recall that from Catherine, but yeah, those Europeans, I mean, they take nudity very seriously.
Yeah, she threw me under the bus too. She was on the Johnny Carson show, actually. This will date us all.
Oh really?
And on the oh yeah, and she didn't mention it by name, but she basically mentioned that there was a princessy actor who wouldn't be nude, and she thought it was ridiculous. She thought the New York actors were much more precious than the LA actors. LA actors would have done it.
Oh God. What was Belinda Montgomery like to work with?
She was awesome. She was great. Yeah, she was a total pro.
Yeah, she's very talented. Elizabeth Caton, who later did Friday the 13th Part 7, what was she like?
Oh my gosh, which one was Elizabeth? I don't remember.
Oh God, what was her character's name? Yeah, I remember how she gets killed. She gets crushed in a grinder in the movie.
Oh, she was the blonde, right? She was a...
Yes.
I don't remember working with her that much. We might not have shot much together.
Okay. Your death was quick and painless, though. You got hot steam blown into your face.
I don't know about quick and painless. I remember hanging from that harness. It was so uncomfortable, and just hanging forever because at one point he pushes me into the pipe. I mean, it's kind of hilarious. I think if you're going to be in a horror movie and get killed, that's a pretty fun and spectacular way to go.
Yeah, yeah. I had the lungs collapse and all that. You're my second guest from the New Kids. I had John Philbin on. Interesting guy.
Oh.
What was that set like?
That one was wild. We were down in Homestead, Florida, and it was full of a cast of up and coming. You got Jimmy Spader, and Lori Loughlin was already established as a TV actor. She and I had a great time. She and I and Shannon, who played her brother and my love interest, we hung out a lot. We went on a 3-day cruise to Nassau, to those islands off of Florida.
Yeah.
Everybody got seasick. That was fun. We had a great time on that set. It was again kind of ridiculous. Trying to figure out how the effects were going to work.
Wow.
And my character obviously didn't die, so I didn't have to go through any of the really rough scenes that those guys had to. But it was super fun. It was a very collegial set. John was really fun. I remember John and Eric. Oh my God, what's his last name? You know, Eric.
Eric Stoltz.
Redhead. Eric Stoltz. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was a very young, starry sort of Breakfast Club adjacent kind of crew.
Great movie.
I got really sick down there. I remember I was in the hospital for a couple of days, had some bad conch fritters.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that was super fun. That was and what I loved about that was the set that they put us on. That amusement park was so creepy.
Yeah.
It was a good set.
Yeah, I mean, Stoltz, he hadn't even been fired from Back to the Future yet, but he was about to do Mask after this. And Spader was about to do Tough Turf. Lori Loughlin was about to do Secret Admirer. Yeah, it's funny how all that plays hand in hand. Philbin was about to do Return of the Living Dead after this. Tom Atkins, I met him at a convention. Very nice man. Was he great to work with?
Oh yes, he was delightful. And so was Chuck Chiaffi. No, that was the other movie. Am I right? The dad?
I think so, yeah.
Charles. Yeah. It was a good bunch. And I got really close with the crew there. I remember that's what I got really curious about the behind the scenes parts of it. And the executive producer and Brian, there was a lot of it was a very generous set.
Yeah, what was Sean Cunningham like as a director?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I remember the cast members more than I remember the director, but yeah, I don't really. I wish I could remember more. It was easy. I don't remember any contentiousness. I know a lot of what we had to contend with was he was always fighting the weather down there.
Yeah.
To get continuity because there's 15 climates a day in Florida. So I remember a sense of urgency around getting things done, in not a lot of takes.
Yeah, and you know who wrote this movie was Maggie Gyllenhaal's father, Stephen.
Get out.
Yeah, he's one of the writers.
Oh wow! That it was 4 million years ago. That's really interesting. Hilarious.
Oh yeah, and I think he had just done, or he was about to. He wrote and directed this B movie with Tatum O'Neal and Irene Cara called Certain Fury, which I've seen many, many times. And that movie was shot up in Canada. It was bad. It's one of those movies that's so bad it's so good too. It's an action exploitation thriller.
Oh wow! When I did that first pro job I talked about earlier, it was with Irene Cara. Small World.
Oh yeah. Was that like during the Fame time?
It was right after Fame, and I think she sang Out Here on My Own for the show too. And it was couldn't be further than a film project. It was a musical variety show for television that called the Mitch Miller Show, and she was one of the guests, and I was one of the dancers on the show.
Man, I hope someday we get closure as to, why she left the spotlight after only like 4 or 5 years of success, because, man, she was everywhere for about 4 or 5 years, and then she got quiet, and then her death was just so sudden, I felt, it was sad.
Yeah.
Then you did a couple after-school specials. The first was The Exchange Student. Anything stand out about that?
I loved working with Josh Hamilton. He played my brother, and I just loved working with him. He was such a good actor, and so kind. And I think it was Michael Uno who was the director. I think it was his first one. I want to say. And Nita was great. My co-star. I had a blast on that. I've enjoyed all my jobs. Is that terrible?
No, it's okay. I've talked to people who have, because certain people, I can tell this from talking to you, you're easy to get along with. Certain people are easy to get along with, and they have good times on sets, and they rarely ever have bad times.
Yeah, life's short.
Yeah, exactly. Life is short. Then you did Don't Touch, which I've seen many times. That one used to rerun.
Oh,
That one used to rerun on cable a lot in the '90s when I was a kid.
yeah, that was Beau Bridges.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
Lenny Von Dolen, who died recently. I was going to reach out to him around the time of his death because someone I know had just interviewed him on their show. You could tell, though, in hindsight, that he knew that the end was near. He sounded really, really bad, sadly. He was so
Mm.
talented. I always thought he was an underrated actor.
Yeah, and what was it? Wolf. Was it not Lisa Wolf? Was it Lisa Wolf?
Lisa Wolf.
The actress who was on it.
Let me look it up here. Yeah, and Corey Parker, what a sweet guy he is.
Oh yeah. Gosh,
I've had him
so
on and his
long
sister
ago.
Noelle. They're both really good people. Yes, Kelly Wolf. Kelly Wolf is the actress.
Kelly Wolf, right.
And Nikki Scalera, she's the little girl. She's like a big Broadway star now.
Mm-hmm.
And she sings. Yeah. There needs to be like a made-for-TV streaming network or TV channel because there are so many nerds out there like myself who love made-for-TV movies because they're like cheaply shot and they had huge names in them and they're very dramatic and well acted and they talk about social issues. You know, it should have its own channel because it's kind of the thing of the past now.
Yeah, and there was a lot of good in that. There's a lot to be. I mean, it is a very specific, what we would say YT in theater, like a youth theater. But I think has a lot of value that goes underappreciated.
Exactly. Then you do a sci-fi TV hockey movie called Generation.
Oh yes, I loved it. I had a tattoo on my face for that one.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's face it, from cheerleader to gang leader, I don't know. It's just like, okay, sure. It was super fun, and that was one of the things I did when I was in Los Angeles trying to work. So that was fun.
So how did they apply that tattoo?
Oh, it was literally, they drew it on. It was makeup. It wasn't even it wasn't an application. They literally hand drew it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what a cast, too. Richard Beamer from West Side Story, Burt Remsen, I've interviewed his daughter, Laureen Yarnell of Shields and Yardell, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That was interesting. Yeah, I watched a little bit of it on YouTube. It was a pretty interesting premise, I have to say.
Yeah, I watched it once after. I was like, wow, this is very of its time.
Yeah. How was the Equalizer experience?
Oh my God, I had such a good time. We shot that on the west side of New York City in CBS Studios, and then we shot the one scene where I had to get handcuffed to a grimy bed, like after I got kidnapped, and the prop person lost the keys to the handcuffs, and we were wrapping for the day, and they were like, just hang out. We'll get you out of there. And Edward Woodward passed by and he saw me sitting on the bed and he said, honey, we're wrapped. What you doing? And I was like, they can't find the keys. And he was so mortified that he personally said, someone's got to get a wire cutter, get this girl out of here. It was because, I was a very young girl and I was in basically what was two ballet skirts that are kind of like chiffon and see-through. One was wrapped around my chest, one was wrapped around my waist. It was, I was pretty exposed. And so he took it on his own to make sure I got cut out of the handcuffs that they locked me on the bed with. So that was funny. And then Adam Ant was awesome. Yeah. He gave me tickets. I took my mom to his concert. I think it was the Beacon that he played. We went to one of his concerts. So yeah, that was super fun. Super fun.
Yeah, that was a great cast in that episode. Sarah Botsford, Ray Baker, Richard Portnow, Lori Petty in like her first performance.
She was great.
Yeah. Oh, I saw her at a convention back in 2016. You could not recognize her. I mean, she's had a lot of work done, and she was charging like $70 for an autograph or something like that.
All right. If whatever the market will bear.
Yeah. Oh, David Allen Greer, Luis Guzman was in that episode. God, a lot of good names.
Yes.
Yeah, and that show was shot in New York too. It wasn't shot in L.A.
That's right. That's right.
Crazy. You got to be the first victim in video violence.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was super fun too because it was all my buddies from New Jersey. I all knew them for many, many years. So that was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that come to you? Just because you knew people on it?
I had done tons of theater with those people, and I knew Gary, the director,
Gary
maybe
Cohen.
the writer on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I knew them from plays in the Park, which was in Edison, New Jersey, and we all had done tons of shows there, and that's how I knew them.
Yeah, I almost reached out to him this past Halloween season, but I got super busy. Maybe next year. But I love the video violence movies because they're shot on shoestring budgets, and they're shot on video. They look like bad like cable access TV shows, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But your hair was golden yellow and shiny, and you got to take off your shirt, and you had your bra on once again, and after you've been full of blood, you get to have a kiss before you're killed.
Yeah. I have so many pictures from that shoot too. It's kind of hilarious. I had red pants and a white shirt. I remember that. Mm-hmm.
You guest starred on the short-lived Hard Time on Planet Earth with Martin Kove. How was that?
Oh my God, yes. Oh wow, I forgot about that one. That was fun. That was a nice crew. That was a nice crew too.
How about guest starring on Ed?
Ed was really fun. That was during I was working. I think it was doing Saturday Night Fever at the time on Broadway. I can't remember. I was doing some show, and the fun part of that show was being part of a band. So I remember we were singing, and
yeah,
he was great too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Julie Bowen, was she great to work with?
She was awesome.
Yeah, she is such a hottie. I'll tell you, she's like a fine wine. You know, she just gets better with age. You know, I remember her in the Diet Pepsi commercials, which of course led to Happy Gilmore, and then this show, and then of course Modern Family, which everybody knows her from the most probably. But
right.
Saturday Night Fever on Broadway. Yeah, let's talk about that. Like, you know, you got to do a couple runs of that, right?
I only did the one. I mean, I did the Broadway original cast, and that was it. I didn't go on the road with it. That show, that was hard. That show was hard. There's a lot of dancing.
Yeah. Yeah, like how many months of rehearsal did you have to do before going?
We each started training because my co-star actually wasn't a dancer by trade, so he did a lot of prep work for it, and I would pop in and work with him a bit. But we rehearsed, it was a couple months for sure. That was a lot of work because it was a huge dance. So, I mean, the audition process alone was eight different days of auditions, which is kind of unheard of. Nobody auditions that much. And our auditions would be sometimes full days of going through dance partnering, and they would partner us with different people. We would do different styles. It was a very, very extensive audition process.
And you got to work firsthand with the Bee Gees?
They came to opening. We didn't really work firsthand with them. No, I mean, I think they were maybe more involved when they premiered it in London. Mm-hmm. But they came and we saw them at opening. But I didn't really have any. I didn't. James may have, but I didn't.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be the highlight of your career.
Oh yeah. That was pretty amazing. It was we wanted it to run a little bit longer, so we were sad that it closed after I think 16 months. but it was quite an honor, and it was more fun to do maybe even than watch, because the crowd scenes, and I personally am maybe the biggest disco fan you ever met, so it was a great match of actor and passion. So I just loved it. I never got tired of it.
Yeah, did you see Saturday Night Fever, the movie, when it first came out in the theater?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like my mom, since like 1975, she's been wanting to be Mrs. John Travolta. I'll tell you, they're the exact same age. Her birthday is 3 days after his. He's February 18th. She's the 21st. I mean, she is obsessed with John Travolta. And like when I was growing up, she always had this movie on, or Grease, or Urban Cowboy. Those were like her three favorites. And she's just obsessed with Travolta. Did he? Do you know if he went to any of the performances?
I feel like he did. I know the women came. The
Donna
people that
Pascal
played our parts. Yeah,
and
they both came to opening.
And Lynn Gormley, I think her name is.
Yep, Lynn Gormley. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I interviewed Bruce Ornstein, who was Travolta's buddy, who's in the hospital, the boxer.
Right.
I interviewed him. Yeah, wow, that is so cool that you got to do that show. So how long did you live in LA for?
I've lived there from like 87 till 91.
It was probably rougher there compared to New York.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I actually got out right before the Rodney King riots, but
yeah.
Yeah, it was a super time to live there because I was young, and it was a very fun atmosphere. I went out to do the looping for All the Right Moves, and Chris Penn and his family gave me a place to stay for a little while, and then I just stayed. Got an apartment, and I was glad to do it, and made a lot of friends and did some crazy jobs, and ultimately theater was my love, so I came back home.
Yeah, and you got to be artistic director at some theater companies, one in Colorado and one in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. In Aspen. I went to Aspen to actually be in a show, and they were replacing their artistic director, and they asked me to help them, and I was helping them meet people. And as it turns out, they hired me. It was kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
Changed my whole career.
Did you get to do any directing for stage?
I did. I directed three or four shows there, and then after I left there, I directed a couple since, and I really, really enjoy directing. So I added that to my toolbox.
Oh yeah, any that stand out in your mind as something that you're really accomplished by?
I did a production of Next to Normal that I was really proud of. And we sort of stripped it down a little bit, and I like stories that are funny and musical, but also pack a punch, and that one sort of hit all the boxes.
Nice. How long did that show run for?
That ran, once we got it up, I think they ran it for like 4 weeks or something. They're so fast.
That's so cool. When you left the Pennsylvania one recently, was that a pandemic decision?
It was more of I came in to turn the theater around. A lot of the jobs that I did like that were finding companies that or being hired by companies that were in distress, and I sort of have an organizational restructuring mind, and so coming in and turning them back around was my specialty. Mm-hmm. And then the one in Philly, we turned around, it was very hard. And then COVID hit, and then I moved back home, which was in New York. I always lived in New York, no matter where I was, whether it was, Aspen was a mostly summer job. So the rest of the year I lived in New York City. And even Philly, we had our place in New York because my husband worked there. So moving back in with my husband was actually the first time that we lived together full time. And it was like, oh, this is a concept, living with your family full time. And, it was just felt like you know what? I did what I was supposed to do. I'm leaving it in better hands, and I'm going to stay home. I'm going to stay home with my husband and find the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Now are you teaching and doing lectures and all that?
I don't really teach. I'll do like master classes occasionally, and but I don't work in universities unless it's as a guest to do that kind of thing. So I'm producing theater right now. I just finished my first Broadway credit, and I'm working on the next one, which is going to star Jason Alexander.
Nice.
So that I've been moving to the other side of the table, continuing just to do independent producing contracts.
So I was reading that you're a baseball fan. Who's your favorite team?
Well, it's a little complicated because I was a Met fan my whole youth.
Yeah.
And then after, in the late 90s, I met Tony La Russa, and he's one of my besties.
Yeah.
And so I really got involved when he was at the Cardinals. Got deeply entrenched in the Cardinals. And then when he left, I continued to watch the Cardinals, and then suddenly he ended up being at these other teams. So, I followed him around for a little bit, but I think I've been pivoting back to the Mets, to where it all started.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in San Francisco. I'm a Giants fan thick and through. I never thought in my lifetime I would ever see any World Series championships from them. I got to see 3 of them, 2010, 12, and 14, like on the odd years,
Right.
I went to a lot of the games in those seasons, and I couldn't believe it. It was the most fantastic thing I had ever seen, because we had so many terrible years. Even during the Bonds era, when Bonds was just he was the top dog, shining, that we couldn't even get a good season for a lot of years, and then that happened. I was like, wow, this is insane,
Right.
When you were growing up,
gosh.
was there a particular baseball player that you just idolized?
Well, I mean, certainly the whole '84 team of the Mets. The Lenny Dykstras and the Carter and the Strawberries of it all. That was super fun. I actually was into hockey more than anything when I was younger. I was a huge Rangers fan, which is kind of fun because I remember when I was in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, during Be Our Guest, I looked up in a dance, literally in the middle of a dance, and I saw Mike Keenan, who was the coach at the time, in the audience. And I sent security back. I was like, go get him in the audience, bring him back after the show. And then years later, when I was doing Saturday Night Fever, same thing happened. I looked up and I spotted John Davidson in the audience, who was the announcer for the Rangers. And got him to come backstage. So, I guarantee no one in my cast knew who John Davidson was. But, yeah, I was a huge Ranger fan. So, but growing up, all those players, it was really fun to have a passion for sports too, because it just opened up a whole different world outside of theater.
Yeah, my dad was an athlete, and he never put pressure on me. He was very proud of me when I went into football, wrestling, and track in high school, because I had no interest in it as a kid. I never played Little League or anything like that. And I made some attempts to want to do it, but my brother had bad experiences with Little League and Cub Scouts and summer camp and all of that stuff. So that's why I was the latchkey kid, staying home watching movies and stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's a generational thing. So what are your go-to disco albums?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, Saturday Night Fever is a pretty big one.
Yeah.
I usually just tell Spotify to just play a disco list. There are some songs that are less great from that era, for sure. But the real truth is that disco, the strains of disco are through pop music. To this day, all the time, the disco structure is underneath it. So I enjoy that.
I'm just a funk and R&B guy from that period in general, in the disco era. I love all the Earth, Wind, and Fire stuff, and George Clinton in Parliament, and Wild Cherry, Average White Band, Casey and the Sunshine Band. I love all that stuff.
Yep, yep.
It was a wild time, I'll tell you, for pop music. And cocaine was everywhere.
Yep, sure was.
So real quick, we got to play my secret silly game. This is a series of silly slumber party questions. It's no win or lose, it's just pure fun. And how the game works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me that exact same question and I answer it. And feel free to comment on answers because they might be funny.
Okay.
Paige, are you ticklish?
Yes. Tommy, are you ticklish?
Yes, and if you tickle me without warning, I might hit you in the groin.
I'll try to stand way back.
Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
It's an innie. Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
It is also an innie. What color are your toenails painted?
My toenails are painted pink right now. And how about yours?
Oh, that's pretty. Right now they're not painted, but last time they were lavender purple.
Nice.
I might do a red and green thing for Christmas. I haven't decided yet. What would you say is your best personality trait?
I think my best personality trait is that I am kind.
You are kind.
What is your best trait?
I have empathy and I have no filter.
Well, you know what? I think we're like very similar in that regard. I would say the same thing.
Yeah, well, being from New Jersey, yeah, I can imagine the no filter part.
Yeah, I got no fucks left. You said I could swear. There it is.
Fuck yeah. If you could have anything named after you, what would it be?
Oh, let's see. I do have a dressing room named after me at my last theater.
Oh.
Oh, that's such a cool question.
Thank you.
I think a scholarship.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah, for me, it would be a vibrator.
Okay. Never would have gone there. Never would have thought of that. Good for you.
I'd call it the Tommy Chatsy.
Love it.
And then my favorite question, is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Is there a stinky smell that makes me gag? Yeah, I think the smell of puke. The smell of puke literally makes me puke.
That's bad, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's either farts or feet.
Farts or feet, yeah. Yeah, farts, I guess, might be way up there, too.
Yeah, right up there on the totem pole. So do you have any upcoming projects or anything you'd like to mention? I know you mentioned that next play you got we're working on.
Yeah, the next play is called Judgment Day, and it stars Jason Alexander from Seinfeld fame, of course.
Yes.
And we're gonna do an out of town tryout in Chicago in the spring, a couple months in May, and hopefully it'll go to Broadway after that. And I'm about to direct Steel Magnolias in St. Louis, also in the spring.
Nice.
Yeah, so got a couple different things going on.
That is fantastic, Paige. I'm glad you're out there making your dream happen, and I thank you so much for coming on today. And I hope you have a happy Turkey Day, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and be safe out there.
Thank you. Right back to you. It was so nice talking to you.
You too. Okay.
All right. You take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. Paige Price. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh, what a great lady, huh? That was a great conversation, and I'm so glad that she's still out there doing theater and doing what she loves. She's amazing. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.